September.
He was born in March.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's 6
Yeah.
months.
We're so
And
excited.
of course
No,
I...
she didn't tell us immediately. She waited till she
No,
knew
I
she
always
was gonna stick
used to
around.
wait till I was through my first trimester. My mother knew, and
So you
but
got
I-
pregnant at the same time. I'm pregnant with my third baby.
And Marvin
Yeah,
knew?
right. Of course Marvin knew. Told Marvin, but I mean I did not broadcast it. I was always very superstitious about discussing a pregnancy until I was through the first
Now, didn't
trimester.
you get morning sickness with Benjamin, or did you have the flu with Benjamin?
No.
I remember. Do you know what? I remember stopping on Superior. I swear to God, going from the Shannon Roadhouse to Grandma Lily and Grandpa Joe's, with Dad pulling up to the side and you upchucking.
Oh, wait a minute. That was from a what happened? I remember that time. As a matter of fact, several of us got sick.
Weren't you pregnant with Ben?
I was pregnant with Ben, but it wasn't morning sickness.
Oh.
We had no. We were coughing. I mean, we had a bad cough, and I had just gotten sick from the coughing, and I did have to puke at that time. But that was a very brief moment in 9 months of pregnancy.
Oh.
Then what happened when Benny was when I woke up in the night the first time in 4 pregnancies, that my water broke.
Oh,
I mean, I woke up with feeling this. Wow, what a feeling! I mean, in 4 pregnancies, this has never happened before. And I called Dr. Reitman again in the middle of the night.
He was not full term, right?
No, he wasn't either.
Oh, I
He
didn't
was
know.
he was
a month
early.
early.
He was about a month early, 3.5 to 4 weeks early, and because he would have been as big as you, Sue, if he had stayed in,
Yeah,
because
'cause
he
he's
was
already
7 pounds
7
when he was
pounds,
born,
yeah.
although he was early. And Dr. Reitman said, I I'm leaking this water, and he said, well, what about contractions? I said, well, I'm not really having regular contractions. And he said, well, how do you feel generally? I said, well, I'm leaking this water. He said, do you want to go to the hospital yet? And I said, well, he said, you tell me how if you're getting any contractions that are concerning you. And I said, no, the contractions are few and far between. He said, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you meet me there in about an hour? Because the fact that it's your 4th child and and your water broke, I think maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea.
You were older, too. You were 30,
Well, I was 38, or damn near 38. I was 38 in April, and you were born in March. You see, you were due around the time that I was 38. So anyhow,
You went to the
hospital, and then they take me in, and I'm not having contractions. And then, of course, I began to get worried. Why am I not having contractions? And the doctor, Brett came in and said everything's fine. He says, but you're not dilating very much, but we're going to keep you here because your water's still leaking. And I spent something like, oh God, I think I must have been in the hospital for about 13 hours. But I was not in labor for 13 hours. I was there for 13 hours, and finally, the resident said, well, look, you've only dilated so many centimeters. I'm sending your husband home. And I said to him at that point, doctor, don't send him home, because now that I have started, once I started in all my pregnancies, with regular contractions, I know I will deliver within the next hour. No, what do you know, you silly woman? You've only had 3 other children. This is your 4th, you know nothing. So I said, doctor, I know myself, please. So he told Myron, go on home. So Myron went home, and as he walked in the door, the telephone was ringing, telling him to come back, because of course I was delivering. And I delivered this beautiful little yellow baby. Yeah, he had jaundice, which is not unusual in infants.
That's why you're
he
so
was
funny.
He was orange. Actually, he wasn't yellow. He was orange. He was kind of a bright orange. And I remember Dr. Dembo was out of town.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, and he sent the person who covered for him, whom I did not like. And as you all know, I had been wanting to change Dembo. I had been wanting to change pediatricians, but there was a problem because of the relationship between the Dembos and between my in-laws. And I always wanted Dr. Bloomfield as our pediatrician, and I therefore called Bloomfield in and I said, would you please come? I really want you, and I was worried because this doctor didn't explain anything to me about why the baby was orange and what they were going to do. I didn't like him. I didn't know him, and I don't want him.
Not the baby, the doctor.
No. I don't even remember his name because Demba was out of town.
I remember Ben had spots on his nose.
And yeah, he had
It
three
was funny,
little red
That was
spots on his
cute.
nose. Anyway, the first, anyway, Bloomfield came in, and he assured me, he sat down with me and explained everything to me, and they checked the bilirubin, everything was okay, so we'll just put him under the lights for a little while, and in a day, it'll clear up. No
That's
problem.
what I used to use
But
anyway.
that night, Laurie, who was always hotter than hell, asked the nurses for some extra blankets. So they brought him into me, and I remember Dickie Gold even came to visit me. And I said, God, Dick, they don't keep this hospital room very warm. And Dick said, what do you mean? I said, well, I need an extra blanket. So he called the nurse and he said, get an extra blanket for her. Anyway, by the following morning, my fever was up to 103. Now, you have to realize when you get a fever like that as an adult and you've just had an infant, what's the first thing that crosses your mind? You obviously have childbed fever. Louis Pasteur, to the contrary, not that you're dying. You have childbed fever.
It's like an infection.
Between 100, I mean, I was burning
Like
up.
a burn.
And I remember Dr. Reitman came in and raised hell with the nurses. When a new mother in these rooms, which they used to keep very hot, asks for an extra blanket, did you ever think of taking her temperature? Anyway, I was burning up. And they took a lot of tests because they're always worried about infection, And the tests all came out clear, but I'm still burning up. And I remember when they were wheeling Benny into me from the nursery, I said to the nurse, you better take him out because I have a raging fever. I never saw anybody whip a cart around so fast, and she virtually flew out of that room. And
This time, your last baby went home before you went home.
yeah, almost. It almost was that. And I remember them telling me you've got to force fluids. And they finally determined that I had a flu. I had the flu, and that's all it was. But so I was actually drinking water directly from the pitchers. I mean, I didn't bother to pour it into the glass. I just poured water into myself. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, next thing, the fever broke.